The defeat of Zordog and Chungo was highly celebrated in the kingdom of Scroobus. A temporary feast day was declared in Scrimmy's name by King Corgi of Scroobus. Once again, everyone celebrated in its well-earned victory against the invasion. Scrimmy wasn't the only hero who received praise. Spingus was eternalized with Scrimmy in a sculpture depicting the defeat of Chungo and Zordog. Spingus decided to come out of hiding permanently. He believed that perhaps his ambitions were now ever more passionate. Following the festivities, something very troubling was brought up to the Scrubin Council. King Corgi had received a report from multiple unknown sources that accused Scrimmy of a crime that was either punishable by death or exile. Each source requested to remain anonymous, but they presented an abundance of evidences for their case. The next morning, Scrimmy was summoned by the council to stand trial against the convictions made of him. A hooded figure stood and explained his accusation. Based on the evidence presented, the council was convinced that Scrimmy had in fact jaywalked in a public street, a crime of monumental degree in Scrubin culture. Subsequently, they displayed multiple pictures of Scrimmy in the act of jaywalking. Scrimmy knew he was innocent, but he couldn't prove it. With a lack of options to spare, he pleaded guilty to the crime. The king was dumbfounded. Even the jury was shocked. They were convinced that their own hero had committed a dangerous crime against the common good of the people of Scroobus. The boy was given a choice between death or exile. Scrimmy understood that something was amiss within the predicament he was in and decided to go into exile. In his banishment, he hoped to discover the nature behind his unforeseen prosecution. At his home, Scrimmy had finished packing his belongings when Spingus arrived unannounced. The Grand Master explained his concern over the trial and failed to trust the council's judgments about Scrimmy. The rationale of the state had seemed to be lost. Spingus wished to join Scrimmy in exile, and Scrimmy agreed to it. Together, they promised to investigate the situation. Scrimmy, with Spingus, had been scheduled to be deported to Congo II, a realm within the inner reaches of the universe. Scroobus was a kingdom settled in the Congo IV realm. The two heroes arrive at the Scroobin Spaceport, where they board the SS Get Outta Here, a shuttle belonging to the deportation committee of Scroobus. Upon their boarding, they encounter 3 other Scroobins who were exiled within that month. Firstly, there were the infamous Crungus brothers, a con artist duo who scammed over 200 different mobile home parks in the universe out of their yearly pension of $300,000 store sponges. The nerve of them! And lastly, there was a Mandarin Orange wearing a trilby. Scrimmy identified a pin on the trilby, signifying that the Orange had visited a generic sellout theme park 2 years ago. The Orange didn't look too happy about the other staring at his hat. Together, they set off to Congo II. After about 5 hours of travel time, the SS Get Out of Here drops off at the animation studio that produced several movies including The Lion King and Bambi, one of Congo II's premier spaceports. Scrimmy and Spingus exit the ship and are officially on exile. Spingus was born and raised on Congo II. He was a native for about 19 years. The two decide to go chill at Spingus's old home in the White Forest in the outer wildlands. When they reach the White Forest, they are greeted by a friendly slug who asks how their day is going. The two heroes promptly ignore the presently amiable gastropod and are on their way. The slug falls into a severely deep depression and goes away somewhere. Spingus finds his old cabin and brings Scrimmy inside. There they are greeted by Spingus's brother, Boxus, the explorer. The two explain their predicament and Scrimmy's apparent exile. Boxus agrees with the peculiarity of the situation and tells the two heroes about the Banana Temple in the eastern wildlands. He explains that Scrimmy's conviction is very similar to the events foretold in an old prophecy. During Boxus's exploration of the Banana Temple, he encountered multiple unknown creatures, stealing the artifact. He explains that the occurrence was too coincidental to be unrelated to Scrimmy, as the Banana Temple is where Chungo was trained by Grandmaster Slingo. Boxus urges them to visit the temple themselves. Before they leave, Spingus takes up his beloved Bungus, the great bow of old. Scrimmy and Spingus push open the doors of the great Banana Temple and peer inside. It is dark and cold and appears to have been deserted for ages. They traverse the medium escalator and reach the room of Congo, the arcane training grounds where Slingo trained Congo. At the back of the room, they discover the talisman of off-brand potato chips. Inscribed on it are the words, "Can be used to unlock something in Congo too." The words echo through the heroes' minds. Spingus knows exactly what it means. There is a lawless zone in the wildlands known as the Outlands, the outer territory of the region. On the northern end of it is a crepe shop, where Grandmaster Slingo had hidden many important artifacts to the old arcane Spingy Order, after the Order was disbanded by Chungo's first invasion a century ago. After staying the night at the temple with nourishment provisions provided by the Fountain of Slingo, the two make their way to the outer northern edges of the wildlands. Scrimmy spots the crepe shop in the distance, but before they are able to make their way to the shop, they are stopped by the thugs and their fearful leader, Spobel, who is seen torturing a civilian of the Outlands. The fiend! Scrimmy jumps into action and punches the thugs into oblivion, but Spingus was down. Spobel casted a magic spell that rendered Spingus immobile. Scrimmy grabbed the great bow Bungus and shot Spobel. The arrow exploded loudly, leaving Scrimmy unable to hear for a moment. He watched Spobel sustain the damage. As he charged another attack, Spingus regained his strength and grabbed the Bungus from Scrimmy. Before Spobel could energize his spell, Spingus shot an arrow right into Spobel's hood. The thug leader collapsed to the ground and fell unconscious. Scrimmy and Spingus rush to the crepe shop and unlock it with the talisman of off-brand potato chips. They examine the shop until Scrimmy finds a door in the back that contains many unusual items. Spingus digs around to find a scroll hidden at the bottom of the pile. It reads, "The Map of Zordong, the Lost Empire of Zordog." Scrimmy realizes that this map was the first clue to discovering whoever framed him for jaywalking. Spingus knew it too. Whoever it was, they were an agent of the dark forces that had commanded Zordog and Congo. If Slingo hid the map in the crepe shop, there has to be a connection. The two leave the shop and lock it once more, with the talisman of off-brand potato chips. They return to the animation studio that produced several movies including The Lion King and Bambi, and are greeted by boxes. The explorer offers the two a ride to wherever they wish. Scrimmy tells him that, according to the map, they are to make their way to Congo 6, the outskirt realm. Boxes agrees and allows them to board his explorer vessel, the SS Ricola. They take off from the animation studio that produced several movies including The Lion King and Bambi Spaceport, and arrive on Congo 6 hours later. They are dropped off at Congo 6's spaceport, known as Actual Bongo, owned by the Ring-a-Ling brothers. Spingus explains to Scrimmy that it's one of the few civilized organizations of Congo 6. The outskirt realm was hardly populated by any of the Bongus tribes. Boxus bids the two farewell and promises to bring some form of assistance in the coming weeks. After the SS Ricola departs, Spingus opens the map to Zordong as they make their way to the mountain of Scroobus, where the lost Zordong Empire is believed to be.